So you mentioned that you had a plan, a 10-year plan while you were in prison. In you focusing in prison and becoming and developing certain skills or life skills, how did that affect those around you? Did they notice a change? Did you clash because you started a different path?
Yes,
Welcome to Man Story.
definitely. And it's so funny, I mean, that you would mention that because, I mean, life is based on constant evolution, transformation, growth, development. And I mean, my brother is the same even in this moment, in time. But I mean, definitely to just answer your question, I would take it back to that point in time. While being in prison, I was fortunate, to have a Caribbean circle around me. I mean, I've never, joined any gang in prison. I've never, went where the religion aspect of it would be, a lot of people join different faiths and belief for protection in prison. For me, I was fortunate to be in a space of where like-minded Caribbean people was. And I think one of the things that as Caribbean people, being in an American institution or an American prison system, I think we still had those common beliefs or that common culture, and it's a culture of understanding that there is the Most High, um, and then outside of that, a shared value just in terms of certain common beliefs in terms of betterment, unity. Most people, who are from Caribbean communities, when they sometimes go to America, it's with the belief of betterment and, wanting to take care of themselves and their family. And then sometimes because of the peer pressure and these things, we just kind of go astray and we lead down an illegal path of trying to make it happen. But I think sometimes if we were giving better opportunities that, some of us would have gone on and probably do what was best to take care of our families and loved ones. But, bringing it specific to that moment, for me, I was fortunate to have a team of Caribbean people, some that I still keep in contact with today. I must say, none of them have returned to prison. And in America, recidivism is very high. The return rate on people returning to prison is very high. But I was fortunate to have a team around me. I mean, one of the guys that introduced me to my first book, is a fellow Trinidadian. I mean, the bulk of the team were from Jamaica. We had as far as Panama. We had some from Barbados, but smaller numbers, Guyana. And we would have like small circle where we would exchange books. We may eat together and just look forward to that brighter future. But I must say that support system that I found in there also played a part because I mean that strength in a different perspective or in a different um, way of looking at things on a positive path sometimes help, and even as I stand here today, I mean, just like I would give, all praises to, God for all that was done. Definitely as I stand here on today, after 20 years, it was because of that support system I had, because of that feedback. And as I look at it as a reflection now of what the last 20 years was, to see those brothers would have gone on. Some instances, some are still in the US, they would not have gone back to prison. Some have gone back to Caribbean islands and they would have built themselves and done well for themselves. And I know it as a result of us sowing those right seeds within our circles and actually supporting each other in those times when people may have felt like you don't need to be reading. Why the hell you reading? Why the hell you talking positive? Nothing will never change for you. This is the life, they usually say from the womb to the tomb. So a lot of them see it as a way of life and just the way it will be. They don't have a choice or they don't have an option. But yeah, go ahead.
This is a very um, I have many questions. So, because I'm blessed to have this interview. Trust me. I I want to ask you. You mentioned how everyone was positive. You surrounded yourself with individuals who were positive. To be positive on Rikers Island, that takes a lot of nerve and a ton of emotional intelligence. Like how how how
um, Good question. I mean, I must say to you, the Rikers Island phase, there isn't much positivity there. When you're sentenced to state prison, you anything a year and over, you don't stay on Rikers any longer. You go upstate, upstate New York, and I guess when you're sentenced, it's a little different from like when you're in remand, as we would say in the region. You're on remand, you're still going to court. So it's even in our local regional prison system, if someone is in remand, you find their attitude, it really hasn't sunk in yet. But if you meet like the convicted people, they are more thinking that, okay, there is an end date, and I definitely have to either make preparation for what is to come or find some form of way to pass the time. Because the one thing we all have in mind as convicted people at that point in time is that we have no choice but to go through this process in our lives. So it was more in that aspect of it. I can't say on Rikers Island I read any books. Let me make that clear. I mean, I was more or less trying to survive and defend for myself. And the faces change so much because like in Remand, you have people going out, people coming in. So it's pretty hard for you or any of them to settle down. You're living court date to court date and hoping every court date will be a last because you're hoping the judge will let you go. So it's a much more hustle, short term way of thinking. But when you're sentenced, this is where everybody sometimes get in their circle, get
right.
in their section and determine. So this is that phase in the journey where I, as I touched on, hey, you're Jamaican, yeah, Trini, yeah, this, and everybody just kind of pull in their circle. Sometimes, I mean, you find whether you're Mexican, you end up with the Mexicans. If if you're from a Bronx or Brooklyn, you end up with, so sometimes if you're a smoker or a non-smoker, everybody just kind of pull according. That's the one thing
Yeah.
with human nature. So, like for me, I mean, your Caribbean roots still in you, so you pull with the Caribbean circle, and it didn't matter. Like for me, we are more divided in the region than in sometimes these big cities, because in these big cities you realize, hey, you're a Caribbean man, and you identify with that circle. It don't matter what Caribbean flag you have, is one Caribbean, but you know that is where a lot of my strength and support came from, and I was blessed to be around a team of people that had a like-mindedness, to want to be more conscious and to do what is right. And I mean, brother, I still benefit from those early beginnings, you know
I can
up until
imagine.
now.
I can imagine. It speaks to the importance of surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals in any space.
Correct, correct.
What was so you mentioned earlier that you went to the States before your parents. What was your relationship like, and how what was the pull that would have brought you to the gangs? Was it a case? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it that there was no adult supervision? Is it that what was lacking? What do you think was lacking, or what do you think drew you to the gangs?
Um, One of the first things I experienced going to the US was um, some of my cousins. And when I got to the US, I would see my cousins and them with big chains and, they buying multiple sneakers and, guns and, and I would tell you something, my brother. I actually, at one point in my life, had the belief that if I had a gun, there is nothing that I couldn't get in this world. I could have get, money, car, house, jewelry, anything. And it just became the thinking that I had because of what I saw. I mean, I would see my cousins and them rob just about anything, from people to businesses to clubs. I mean, they would rob on a day-to-day basis. And like I said, I would see them with bag of money and a table full of jewelry. And, that played into my young mind. I'm 10, 11, and I'm seeing that. And I mean, I'm seeing them as role models at that time. So it's just like we talked about being in a positive space and seeing certain things that are positive. In that moment in my life, I was in a negative space, and I would have then now grasped that energy, and I would have, looked up to it and idolized it, believe it or not. Um, with my parents not being there, things were a lot harder. I mean, it was me and my sister, and I mean, my brother, many days. I remember being in like sixth, seventh grade, and I mean, for me to buy sneakers, at that time, I might have to pack bags in a grocery and that kind of thing, and you know, rely on the tips people would give and that kind of thing. So it was a rough period. I mean, I look back at it sometimes and wonder, what would have drove my parents and them to make such a move. But at the end of the day, they did it with the betterment or wanting what was best for their children in mind. So with them not being there, um, they couldn't send money from Trinidad to buy a sneakers that I might have wanted for school or to buy the latest shirt or latest pants. And I mean, I'm a youth, so I'm influenced by peer pressure. I want nice things. And unfortunately, there was nothing coming. There was nothing coming. So, I mean, I have a sister. I can't expect her to man up and go and look fit. And, I always felt like I was a young man at that time. So, I decided to man up and look fit. I mean, due to the impressions that would have been placed on my mind from those around me, the only way I knew how to get it was through illegal means. And that is what I gravitated to, and that's what became my life.
Right, right, right. So, what's your what? Okay, so in your case, we you mentioned that you didn't have adult supervision. I'm assuming, yeah.
Mm.
Um, what having gone through that and recognized the need for that, how did that influence your parenting?
Um, it has influenced it. Um, it has influenced it a lot. And I think sometimes I'm a little hard on myself because of my parenting, because I have accepted the fact, from a long time ago, even before having kids, I feel like I not only have my biological children, but whether it be the community, whether it be my company, whether it be people around me, I feel like, I want to do what is best for them and I want to ensure that they become their best. And I believe that sometimes takes away from the time I could spend with my kids and stuff. So even right here, right now, in this moment, I understand that there's a cause, and that cause that I want to identify myself with is greater than just my household, but it's a community of people who may not have this type of dialogue or discussion, being provided to them. So I do the best that I can. I mean, I try to make every moment count in life. So, whether it was talking to my kids earlier today, I made sure and express words of wisdom. I mean, whether it's for an hour a day or 2 hours, whatever I'm afforded, I try to really give my relationships, primarily here with my kids, I try to give it the best of me. And the best of me might not be what is the best for someone else. So I strive to speak wisdom into them. I try to speak life into them. I try to really and truly show affection and to let them know I love them and I value them. I mean, I'm someone that I'm aware every day that when I step out of my home, I may not make it back home. I don't even live with the illusion that a day from now is promised or even tomorrow is promised. So, I try to really and truly go hard every day. And even when it comes to going hard with the things that concern the betterment of my community at large, I'm all in, you know?
Wow, wow. You, you, what would you? Because we know, that's one of the reasons why we have why Mansour is here is because I want to have individuals who are in different spheres of society and have them speak about their journey and the challenges they had, and for you to see a little bit of themselves in those individuals. What would you tell a young man who is tempted to go along a particular path that would see himself lining up with a gang or getting into illegal activity? What message would you give to them?
The message that I would want to share to just about every young man or every young person is that anything that you want to achieve in this life, you are capable of achieving. I grew up accepting some of what people said to me, whether people said you wouldn't be nothing in life, you would be dead or in jail by the age of 18. I've actually had teachers tell me those things in school, excuse me, and I haven't had much people who would have spoken life to me. So I would want to tell every young man or every young woman, and we focusing on the young man today, that anything that you want to achieve in this life is possible, and anything that you put your mind to, you can become. And just to add to that, in prison, I read a book by Dr. Carlson. Dr. Carson is one of the first, Dr. Ben Carson, forgive me, is one of the first black neurosurgeons that was able to successfully separate two Siamese twins, right? I read his book in prison. And with reading that book, I mean, and
That was what
understanding,
Gifted Hands.
yes, That's the book Self. And that book changed my life. And that young man, I think he grew up in Detroit. And with growing up in Detroit, his parents could not read or write. And they wanted what was best for him. And he used to be up at night sometimes with a lamp studying. His mother would make sure he studied. And with studying, he went on to top his class and to be very successful at his schoolwork. He ended up getting through in a university that only used to take on, I think, one or two students per year. And him as a black man being able to make it into that school was even harder. And for a black man to be given the opportunity to separate two two babies that were joined by the head in the
Right,
early 80s in the United States was unheard of at that time, right? Because you don't have much black doctors, right?
right.
And they trusted him with that. For me, when I finished reading that book, I felt like I could have been a doctor. I knew I wanted to be a businessman, and I embraced the concept at that time that I would not just be a businessman where one business is concerned, but I would be a businessman of a group of companies.
Right.
I knew that since that moment. That's
But
what
tell
at
us
the
about
eight.
those companies, huh? What they give us a synopsis.
Okay, a quick overview. My core business is general construction and facilities maintenance, and that is where the bulk of my staff is employed under. We also have a healthcare arm of the business where we do COVID testing, we have a PCR lab, we have dialysis. I mean, I just came back from Jamaica last night where I'm partnering with a lab over there and looking to roll out testing. I supply test COVID tests throughout the region, and I am also involved in agriculture. Um, in the agriculture field, we are looking to develop one of the first regionally produced livestock feed, and that livestock feed would be for your rabbits, your cows, your goats, your sheep, all these animals. We import all these things, and when there is a global pandemic crisis, shortage of anything,
It's a problem.
it's a problem, right? In the region, in Trinidad and Tobago, we are the fourth largest importer of goat meat in the world. And when you look at what goats eat grass, and look how much grass is in abundance. So, um, I have done many different businesses from trading to online businesses to automotive car parts. I had a car parts place in the bamboo for 5 years. I mean, I've done many other businesses, but right now I'm focusing on businesses again that could impact change and can make a difference. So I believe I want to bring back that coolness of, being a farmer and actually looking at how important food security. I mean, we as a globe or as a world of people, we are looking at a population increase of about 10 million, 10 billion to 10 billion in the next 30 years. We'll move from where we are now to reach a total capacity of 10 billion. And we are going to be required to produce 70% more food to feed this additional people. And I don't think any of us have a clue or even understand the magnitude of, what that entails. But that is going to be something where food will become like a important resource like gold and
Oh yeah,
oil and these things.
I agree.
So,
Are you doing it for fish as well? Fish feed?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
awesome. Okay.
definitely.
Good, good, good.
So, it's something that I realize is important. I mean, the pandemic has showed me how important healthcare is. We were one of the first companies to bring in, rapid COVID tests, in this country, and we have gone on to, build out a lab, a PCR lab, and also a lab that, we could look at different genetic diseases that a lot of people face. So, in the region, we have a high level of prostate cancer amongst men. We also have a high percentage of fibroids. We have high blood pressure. We have a number of diseases that are unique to us as Caribbean people, and I believe not much emphasis is placed in terms of how we can curb or how we can actually treat some of those things. It's usually done just to manage, and we should be moving beyond manage to help people live their best lifestyle. So, when I look at the things that I'm investing my time in where business is concerned right now, it's not even with money in mind. It's with really how can we improve the quality of life and how can we prepare for the future of the region at large, right? So those are just a little bit of the things I'm involved in myself with, and anything that is dealing with a much more sustainable future. I like electric cars. I like solar. I like recycling. I like things that could help with climate change. So I'm always open to those type of investments and to those types of partnerships because we really have to look at ways to improve the quality of life.
Awesome. Quick thing. Because how was it getting the funds and the capital for the first business?
Good question. I mean, it's something I really and truly one day, I want to write my second book, and my second book would be on that, business in a post-colonial country, right? um, Business in a post-colonial country, really unique. Sometimes the books that we are able to read on Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, the likes of them, they speak to access to capital, they speak to a free market economy and all the nice parts of business. Um, for me, doing business in the Caribbean as a man of African descent is one where, there is very limited access to capital. Your family sometimes do not have the resources to put in your business. Your community at large does not have anything to give you to really invest in your business. And we haven't been taught, to think that way. We've been taught sometimes to just place our money in the offering and hope that, the Father will give us or multiply it or stretch it, right? Um, so for me, it was very challenging. I think your business principles sometimes help because, like, for me, I remember the day when I realized I was going to go into business full time.
Mhm.
I mean, and I said to the Father, because, I reason with him, I don't make demands, but I sometimes just say, exactly how I feel. And one of the things that I made a decision to myself going into business was I don't ever want to owe anyone. I see a lot of businesses, especially black businesses, where people ducking people money, people cannot pay, it's stories, it's all kind of thing. And I always knew to myself, I don't want that to be. I never wanted that to be so much that I said to myself, the day I have to give someone a sad story or a prayer, I would know, Father, that business isn't for me. Because that was my one request. I will go anywhere you lead me. If you're guiding me as business, I'm going into business. But the day I have to say, hey, Mr. Brown, I don't have it to give you today. You see that day?
Yeah.
I done with business. It's better I go back and work a 9 to 5, right? So, I mean, for me, I've always kept it above board. I've always um, strive to treat workers fairly, um, and I've always operated with a great level of integrity where business is concerned. I mean, I don't pay bribes. I mean, I don't even do a lot of work with the government because really and truly, I'm not here to give a kickback or anything like that. And it has helped me when I've seen a lot of people, depending on if a government change, they don't get work, or if a government is in power, they get work. I haven't
Yeah.
built a model based on that. Built our model based on service, and it's one where if it isn't the best performing service that we can give, well, then we understand that we can lose that opportunity. So we have to be the best. We have to give our best and we have to do our best every day. And I mean, I have a team of like minded persons. My brother, we pay our staff extra every month because, like I said, it's not just about building ourselves. In the community that I operate out of, we provide food hampers to people in the community on a monthly basis. And like I said, we just try to make it inclusive and to show them that they are part of. But a big part of what I would want to see more of my people do in business is to realize that business is bigger than you.
Uh-huh.
For me, the key to business is to build a model that would improve upon the lives of those that are employed. It would improve upon the lives of the customers, and it would then, now by extension, improve upon the lives of the community that you operate in. So, um, those are things I didn't read in a book. Those are things that I didn't understand. There's a great saying by a gentleman, Simon Sinek: people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I believe that's so true, where I strive to live that, where I would prefer you to buy in to why I'm doing something and what's at stake. So right now, I don't even know if I told you this, but I am actually building a school
Okay.
in the community that I
Which
operate in
community is this? Okay.
Aruca. And I have land in San Fernando that I'm building school. I have access to land in Jamaica to build a school. So it's also strategic, where I choose to set business up. Because like I said, if I'm able to earn there, one of the first precedents is to try to build a school. And we are building a school, and it's going to be like a STEM academy where we're going to focus on science, technology, engineering, and maths.
Uh-huh.
We're looking at a robotics component. I've already partnered with a gentleman who has, you know, garnered great success in Canada in terms of leading schools and to competitions throughout the US for NASA and these things, and he's on board. And
So
this
what age group is this for?
um, in the first instance, we were looking at from young and take them through the whole process. But depending on the different types of courses that we offer, we're going to actually bring in the different age groups. So, like where robotics is concerned, we may start with Form 1 to, we'll do a program from 1 to 3 and then from 4 and 5. So, whether if it's the basic fundamental classes, we want to do some work with young men, teach them etiquette, teach them how to treat with women and all that kind of thing. Like I said, I'm breaking the conventional mode a little bit, but I really want to train and develop people for what the future is becoming. And what the future is becoming is one where a lot of these core things we are losing. So we are losing basic etiquette training. You're not even seeing
It's non-existent.
there you go. There you go.
It's
So
history.
before we even get to the curriculum, we we are really looking to build them. One of the things with the Japanese model, they teach them life skills for the first few years, even before you start to do maths and science and these things. And like I said, some of those core components, is where I see myself, being very strong and bringing in different stakeholders, locally and abroad to come in and to really mentor, to really work with and to train, My brother, I just want to finish. Like I told my team today, or full steam ahead. I mean, I think it's one of the things that it would make my heart smile once I'm able to complete. And it's something I wanted to complete for this day, the significance of this day, but due to the pandemic causing the construction stop and these things, we weren't able to get it off in time. And then the rain start to fall, so you're not gonna do your foundation and these things during the rainy season. But the
Yeah.
weather is perfect right now. The winds is, beneath the sails, and like I said, the next step will be to have that school launch this year. And like I said, it's going to be a free school. I mean, if that school was open now, we would be providing meals for the kids of Aruka and environs every day, and probably, just providing short stories or anything that we could do under the restrictions that we're under. But like I said, it's really a school to impact change in the community and to better the lives. So anybody, if you were willing to come and say you're doing some with young men, the school is open to you. Just come and work and help the young men in the community. So that's really what we want the school to become, a institution and a space where people learn, improve, and develop in whatever way possible.
Wow. Wow. This conversation is really good. I hope that a lot of persons, a lot of young men will be inspired because, a lot of times they have the opinion, the view, the flawed view that boy life hard, and if life hard, then I have no reason to push. And your story, not complete. We'll definitely need to get you back here to dig some more into it. Is definitely an inspiration. I think it's needed for young men to understand that there is much that can be done. Life is unfair, but we have a responsibility, and the only thing we can change is our attitude. So, Rory, this has been an excellent time. I really appreciate what you're doing. Um, the fact that you took time out to of a very busy schedule to share your journey with us. And again, as I said before, we're definitely having you back because I have a lot of questions. There's a lot to talk about, and I think that your story can definitely bless a lot of young men and people in general.
Man, I thank you. I thank you for having me because um, to all the young men listening out there, I think sometimes, no matter how hard your life has been through, I mean, for me, my story isn't the sum of life. There are people, when I hear sometimes what they have gone through, my heart goes out to them. And I think the one thing, no matter what's your story, no one's story is greater than anyone. But I think is what we do with our story. If you were able to overcome and make it through, how much people that you would share your story with to help them push through or to persevere through that moment of pain and that moment of frustration. So for me, anyone that can receive my story and to understand that, hey, there is hope for you, that's the key. And just know that when you reach where you reach, just pay it forward to help someone else who could then now be impacted by it, that they could move and go forward. Don't keep it to yourself. Share your story. There's always someone, willing to take something good from it. So My brother, I love what you're doing. I wouldn't miss this for anything because, like I said, this is the true value of life. And as I tell my kids every day, words must match actions. You know, words is nothing if there isn't any action or non-action behind it. So words must match action, and I love what you're doing in principle. And like I said, I am all on board. Yesterday I'm driving through Kingston and I'm telling somebody about this interview today, and I'm allowing them to know that really and truly is one of the things that I look forward to. And I'm glad we were able to get it done. I leave in a few days for London and Dubai to meet with some more people and to do some recording and to share this story. And, I would continue, my brother, to express, you know, my truths in terms of allowing people to know that with no excuses, it's possible, with no compromise, it's possible. Each and every one of us, we have the power to do and to achieve anything that we put our mind to. We just cannot compromise it, and we cannot provide no excuses towards doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, you take care.
All right. One love.